Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media, St. Louis's home for arts, education, and culture.
I think that's part of what I like about it, the simplicity of it.
Just lean in, enjoy it, do your best.
Promote wonder and inspiration.
Today on Spotlight, meet the first female managing partner of Edward Jones, how she says she walks into every situation. Plus, the animals in Forest Park that scientists are following, what they've learned from them so far. And then the Laumeier Art Fair happens Mother's Day weekend. Meet some of the artists. But first, a local organization helping families of pediatric heart patients. What motivates the Ollie Hinkle Heart Foundation? It's Sunday and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
You're the winner! Yay!
Shaw Biles earns a kiss. Thank you. The joys of being age 3?
5. No. Are you 10?
No.
Oh no, how old are you?
5.
3.
Whether it's 5 or 3 years, Elizabeth Biles is counting each and every year as a blessing.
This moment with this 3-year-old is hard, but I'm blessed to have this hard moment with this 3-year-old because I could have easily not. I might not have a blessed hard moment with a 14-year-old.
Shaw is a heart patient.
Do you have a special heart?
Yeah.
Yeah? What does it say?
Boom, boom.
He has a congenital heart disease called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. So essentially, he was born with half a heart.
And he likes seeing his doctor at Mercy Hospital, St. Louis.
Yeah.
Dr. Goo.
Dr. Gould's upstairs.
Mm-hmm. What is he doing?
He's helping other babies.
Elizabeth stays strong at home and work. As a nurse in labor and delivery at Mercy Hospital St. Louis, she sees healthy babies born every week, but she also cares for babies born with congenital heart disease. And she still feels blessed because
Moms don't get to take their babies home, and I got to take my baby home.
Still, it's been hard, sometimes overwhelmingly hard. That's where baby Ollie's life has made a big difference, not only for Elizabeth, but for more than 6,300 pediatric heart patients and their families. Born in late 2011, Ollie passed away just over a year later.
Our story actually began right here at Mercy Hospital. I gave birth to him in labor and delivery here, and when he was 3 days old, we found out that he was born with a heart defect. And we were on our way out of the hospital, and he was going in for his last check when the pediatrician heard a murmur.
Ollie's short life is the inspiration behind the Ollie Hinkle Heart Foundation, formed 10 years ago. Ollie's parents, Jen and Mark Hinkle, are co-founders. Through their love, their joy, heartbreak, and loss, the mission became clear.
We set out to take our love for Ollie and share it with others, providing support to other families whose shoes that we had walked in.
In 10 years, the foundation has raised more than $6 million to help support pediatric heart families at many hospitals in the country, including Mercy Hospital, St. Louis.
Hi, Sissy.
Babies with heart conditions in the NICU benefit in different ways. The foundation provides funding for research and new technology.
A vascular ultrasound machine. So with these little heart babies, you can imagine how tiny their veins are. They can see where the vein is, access it with the first try.
The foundation provides struggling families with financial support as well as other needs through community outreach efforts.
CPR Anytime Kit.
And the foundation formed Ollie's branch.
It's an access point to access free mental health services. If you're starting up with a new therapist, it's usually about a 6 to 8 week wait. When families are coming to us through Ollie's branch, we're responding to their requests within 2 days, and we're matching them with a therapist in about a week, and they're having their first session in about 10 days.
Ollie's branch also provides therapy to the clinical care teams caring for the pediatric heart patients.
You know, these aren't jobs to us. This is our life works. So we always say, you know, your life is our life's work. And to do that, you learn about your families, you learn about your babies, you know about their journey. And we invest our hearts in these families. And in doing that, it's really hard not to also embrace their pain and their suffering. And so this way, it helps our coworkers offset some of that difficult, because they do have to come back the next day and take care of another family.
Elizabeth is grateful.
Ollie Hinkle has been with us since day one. Really a relationship that I look forward to continuing throughout all of Shaw's procedures and all of his life. For when I'm a nurse, taking off my mom hat and putting on my nurse hat and experiencing hard things, being carried through emotional pieces of my home life helps me to then carry others through the emotional pieces of my work life.
Say thanks, Ollie Hinkle.
Thanks, Ollie Hinkle.
Yay!
Go maple sugaring in Missouri, later on Spotlight.
Edward D. Jones Sr. opened his first office, a single room with 3 chairs, in downtown St. Louis in 1922. Jones had a simple but unique concept: treat associates as partners, focus on service to clients, and be involved in your community. The idea worked in a big way. Edward Jones is now the world's largest investment firm by number of financial advisors. It's in all 50 states and Canada, working with more than 7 million clients and managing more than $1 trillion of assets. Still based in St. Louis, Edward Jones is now led by the firm's 6th managing partner and the first female managing partner, Penny Pennington. Pennington began her career with Edward Jones in 2000 as a financial advisor in Livonia, Michigan. She came to St. Louis in 2006 when she was promoted to principal. Penny has taken on the challenges of civic leadership, personal health issues, raising a family, and leading a huge corporation in a traditionally male-dominated field. Not only has she met all those challenges, she has succeeded at them.
I love what I do. Many people have said that if you love what you do when you go to work every day, you don't work a single day in your life. So I don't feel like I have a job to go to. We're all in it together is a phrase I use often. I also believe that women have a natural sense of empathy, of nurturing, of trust building, and in the relationship business, that's a very positive attribute to have. I kind of walk into most situations knowing that I have a tremendous amount to learn, and whomever is there to help me learn, I am happy to partner with. Those that I get a sense may discount me or discount the opportunity that I might have to contribute to this situation, I generally just move on and find somebody else to partner with.
You're one of a handful of women, and you have this huge organization behind you.
Our industry has historically tended to be more male-dominated. While I am one of the few CEO-level leaders in our industry, there is a great number of very senior women in influential roles in our organization and in others. So I don't think that this is going to be a forever situation where I'm one of the only few. I can't wait to welcome a great many more folks of greater diversity into the senior ranks of all of our organizations.
Any one last thing you'd like to say to the young women out there who are looking to you and saying, I want to be her someday?
One last thing is that I am terrified every single day coming in here. There's going to be something new that's going to happen to me. There's going to be something unexpected. There's going to be a meeting or an experience like this one that I've never had before. And as I get dressed every morning, I just look at myself in the mirror and say, you've been uncomfortable before. You've been in places that it was all new to you before. Just lean in, enjoy it, do your best. And at the end of the day, you will have learned something that you didn't know when you're looking at yourself in the mirror right now. So get comfortable being uncomfortable.
And that'll lead to success.
Indeed.
Penny, thank you so very much for taking your time. Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Barron's, a leading source of financial news, recently named Penny Pennington one of the 100 most influential women in U.S. finance. To watch the full interview with the Edward Jones managing partner, visit hecmedia.org.
This story brought to you by Educate.today.
There's one. There's another. And there's a whole neighborhood of them. At almost every turn, there's a LEED certified building, and their popularity is only growing.
Most of our clients want to have a LEED certified building.
Getting that nationally accepted label, which certifies buildings as environmentally friendly or green, is kind of like a game, with points attached to each green feature. And the more points you get, the better the prize. Or should we say certification?
There's basic certified, which is 26 points, 32 points for silver, 39 points is gold, and if you achieved 52 points, you'd be platinum.
Architect and engineer Rich Janis took us to St. Louis Community College's LEED certified Wildwood campus to better explain how to rack up LEED points.
We're going to go out to the roof right now and see a lot of the LEED features.
Rich points out the plants growing up here, which absorb heat from the sun. And notice the roof is painted white instead of black.
And those two features contribute to reduction of heat island effect on the roof.
And that's good for 1 point toward LEED certification. Also on the roof, you'll find drains that collect rainwater in a cistern.
This plus some other features lead to a point for what's called stormwater management.
The points are rolling in now, and so is student traffic on campus. Notice how full this lot is.
And that creates an incentive, perhaps, to carpool or to take public transportation. So the LEED point is to install no more parking than is required by code.
That goes down as 1 point for alternative transportation. Next stop, the men's bathroom. Here we'll pick up points for water efficiency. After all, these urinals are waterless. With that and other water-efficient fixtures, the campus has a 30% savings on water, and that's good for 2 LEED points. Recycling. You'll see cans like these all over campus. How many points are they worth?
Recycling does not get a point. It's worth 0 points. But unless you do recycling, you will not get a LEED rating. It's a prerequisite.
As it turns out, recycling isn't the only prerequisite for LEED certification. There's a long list of others, including complying to energy codes. But let's get back to features that will add on some points.
Daylight control is a big feature of the energy design. You can see that there's a light shelf below the clerestory windows, and what that does is it bounces the light up, and then the contour of the ceiling projects the light deeply into the room. So that when we have enough light, the electric lights dim and save on power consumption in the building.
That, combined with ventilation and some other features in the mechanical room, saves about 34% of the energy the building would have used and adds 4 points to the school's score. The school scored points in several other areas, from construction waste management to use of materials manufactured regionally. But all together, the school earned 46 LEED points. That means this campus was awarded the Gold certification. But administrators say even though it costs about 3 to 5% more to construct a LEED certified building, the benefits go beyond just a plaque on the wall.
We save about $45,000 a year in energy and water and sewer use. We've created an excellent learning environment for our students.
Studies actually show that LEED certified gold buildings contribute to a 1.5% productivity gain in its workers or students. And for most people who aren't keeping score, that's really what LEED certification is all about.
Have students looking to learn about more strategies to protect the environment and preserve the earth? They'll find over 150 videos at Educate.today. Keyword environment.
We're here in Forest Park with Astrid the owl. She can see us, but we can't see her. And we've been tracking Astrid's movements for the last year in order to begin to build a picture, a scientific picture of how an apex predator can operate and function in an urban park.
So it would be October 2021, we put a transmitter on her And for the next a little over a year, she gave us some great information.
This is the actual radio that we would use to find the animals in the park. And we can turn this on and listen for the little signals that the tag makes. And using that, we can kind of play a game of hot and cold, basically, where when the signal is louder, it means we're getting closer. From there, we can use our equipment to download the data from their tags.
For about 14 months now, we've been tracking her movement here in the park as well as outside the park in Central West End and across the highway, and really understanding where her territory is, where her home ranges are, and just understanding how great horned owls are living here in Forest Park. Forest Park Living Lab is collaborative of 6 different partners. We have the St. Louis Zoo, Washington University in St. Louis University, Forest Park Forever, the World Bird Sanctuary, and INGREC, which is the National Great Rivers Research and Education Center. Forest Park Living Lab really grew out of the St. Louis box turtle project, and after years of chasing one crazy little species, we've moved into going across reptiles and fish and mammals and birds. And so to amass more animals within our data set, to not just follow Astrid, but to include other bird species and get a real feeling for how these animals are interacting with each other, using the environment, and getting a real health assessment across all these, from swimming to walking to flying type creatures that are right here in the park.
We have several objectives in this study. One is to promote wonder and inspiration for especially the kids of St. Louis, to know that there's incredible and amazing wildlife freely accessible to them in a park right on their doorstep. And we're interested in working with Forest Park Forever to try to help them understand the ecology of the community of Forest Park and to evaluate the restoration efforts and the conservation potential of the park. So far, we have put GPS trackers on Astrid the Great Horned Owl, a number of raccoons, some ducks. What we've learned from the few species that we have tracked is that most of the animals don't simply use the park area of Forest Park, but they make excursions into the sort of urban jungle, as it were. One of our raccoons, practically every night, he legs it out of the Kennedy Forest into a culvert, scuttles under I-64, hangs out in a dumpster in Dogtown.
The zoo, our role has very much been the health side. So we work in wildlife and looking at ecosystem health, and both of those are really important for human health. Our role is to better understand the health status of animals here in Forest Park. And that has been started out of the box turtle project from 12 years ago now, and moving farther into understanding, are these different taxa, like the great horned owls, like the small mammals like raccoons and opossums and even foxes, what's the health of these animals right here in the park? So right now we have very good indications that many of our species are robust. The baseline health data is showing us like healthy animals moving around the park, and that's really exciting.
Scan the QR code on your screen to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
My name's Dayton, and the business is called Thompson Dry Goods. It's fiber arts. We're making bags and different things, so it's using repurposed canvas and leather goods, and just kind of using as much old stuff as possible to make something new and fun. So I started during the pandemic. I'd never sewn before or done any of this kind of stuff, and I found myself with a lot of time on my hands. So I have been selling vintage clothing and different things and doing antiques, and I've been collecting all these different materials over the years, and I loved military bags and stuff like that. And so I love the fact that, they're 50, 60, 70 years old, still hold up, and it's great quality material. So I hoarded a bunch of that stuff over the years, thinking that I was going to hire somebody eventually to make products for me out of them. And when I found I had a lot of time on my hands with the pandemic, I had an opportunity to learn how to sew, and so I started actually making them myself. So it's just repurposing those old goods and making something new. I feel like the old duffel bags and stuff are great, but they're not really useful in today's world. And so making it something an everyday carry or something like that. A lot of the pieces, it's stuff that I've found and sourced. It's all vintage, they're all different sizes and shapes, and some of them have words on them or different things, and so it's kind of cool letting the piece kind of tell me what it wants to be or the shape that it wants to be. So a lot of the items I make don't actually work off a pattern as much as it just kind of shapes up how it shapes up to make it look the best. I guess that's where the art comes in, is just making everything unique and different and letting the piece kind of speak for itself. I hope people kind of think it's fun and interesting and maybe can look at it in a different way. I think a lot of people have old, cloth and different things sitting around, maybe an old pair of blue jeans or who knows, an old bag that kind of fell apart, and now it's like instead of just donating it or throwing it away, maybe you can repurpose it and make something else out of it.
Meet this artist at the 36th Annual Laumeier Art Fair Mother's Day weekend, May 12th through the 14th.
For content that keeps you coming back for more, go to hecmedia.org.
Celebrating the people who are really putting their lives on the line.
Be entertained.
I like to take a piece of flat material and form it and transform it into something that's three-dimensional and interesting.
Get inspired.
The next pandemic, we won't have to pivot and try to get ready for something. We'll already have that in place.
Learn something new.
We're all from St. Louis, and we really just wanted to be able to give back to the city and see the city grow.
Connect with your community.
I had never written a book before, and I just thought it would be a really good way to do it and bring the experience to the reader.
Go in depth with experts and your favorite authors, all in one place. For original programming and award-winning content, go to hecmedia.org.
I've got to be outside. If it's not hunting, it's gardening. If it's not gardening, it's mushroom hunting. I've got to be outside.
On the Gearing family farm in southeastern Missouri,
I like making use of natural resources.
Homegrown is preferred.
We have poultry. We do the chickens for eggs and occasionally meat. Mark does lots of gardening. Broccoli, cauliflower, onions, corns, potatoes, tomatoes.
For 6 to 8 weeks every winter, they pair up with Mother Nature for another treat from the land that sweetens more than their meals.
It looks good, nice and golden.
Mark and Crystal Gearing started tapping their sugar maple trees.
When I was pregnant with my daughter,
I looked around and figured out we had lots of maple trees. So I bought 20 of the old-fashioned spiles that drip into the buckets and started from there.
As time passed, they upgraded equipment, added taps, tubing, and kids. 19 years later,
grab the line. We're up to 801 taps this year, if my son's counting is correct.
The nightly freeze, daytime thaw pattern in Missouri winters brings a surge of sap.
Look, sap's a-flowing.
And hard work.
I do about everything we do around here. I'll help do it. It's fun though, a lot of time out in the woods and stuff.
That seems to be a common theme on this farm.
I like going out in the woods and then doing taps and stuff and carrying the bucket for my dad when we're tapping, and just like to be outside.
And when the sap's flowing, that's exactly where they have to be.
It's almost like having dairy cows. When it's time to milk the cows, you've got to milk the cows. When it's time to collect the sap and cook the sap, you've got to cook the sap.
Also, like milk, sap spoils. Not to mention, if you don't collect it fast enough, these totes can overflow.
I know they say not to cry over spilt milk, but I will cry over spilt sap.
Hopefully it gives them some work ethic too, because there's going to be times in life where you just have to stick to it and get it done and know that it will end and be over and you'll have something to show for it.
But that's about it.
It takes about 50 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup.
You remove the water, you get the syrup. It's a very primitive process. I think that's part of what I like about it too, is the simplicity of it.
If you're here for maple sugar programming, if you can gather around.
The Missouri Department of Conservation recently demonstrated that primitive process of 3-kettle maple sugaring
This one can burn very easily.
at Rockwood's Reservation in St. Louis County.
Most people don't know anything about how maple syrup is made, and it's really interesting, so they're here to learn about that.
It's been around for a very, very long time. I think a lot of people don't know a lot about their resources, so it's just one of those other aha things.
Maple sugaring was widespread in Missouri before people had easy access to cane sugar. Historic records tell of Native Americans tapping trees. Meriwether Lewis even journaled about the Corps of Discovery maple sugaring in Missouri before setting out on their expedition.
And that, to me, is incredible. They were over there later in February doing the same thing over 200 years ago.
It's good.
It's not just Missouri's Department of Conservation reminding people of the maple tree's potential. MU's Extension Office recently released a report and resources to put maple syrup on the map in the lower Midwest.
In Missouri, typically, if you're a landowner and you have forested property, maple trees have typically been kind of a nuisance because you're looking to grow oaks or hickories, something that can produce a pretty reliable source of income through hardwoods or this or that. And so maple trees have typically not been part of that conversation, but we're trying to change that. We also found that folks are selling at a premium here. There's really high demand and not enough supply. So I think all of those things point in a good direction if you're interested in getting into it.
There is your factory that's turning sunlight into the pancake topping.
When Mark Gearing isn't making maple syrup,
And as the season progresses, the chemistry in the tree is changing.
he's a high school science teacher, often leading field trips through his backyard.
To see the kids take an interest in it, I found over the years as a science teacher, when you get the kids' attention is when you make it real to them.
Several of his students are now also making maple syrup.
It's neat to see that. It's really neat to see them take off. Sometimes I worry about the competition because some of these kids are pretty motivated, but
Maple syrup may not be the most lucrative homegrown product.
you don't make big money at it. That's for sure.
But the Gearing family's profiting from it.
When we started tapping years ago, about 12 years ago, that tree over there was the same size as this one is now. It's grown a little bit, hasn't it?
In much sweeter ways.
In another 12, 15 years, when you're taking this over, this one will be as big as that one. When you have the experience, the time with the kids, the time in the woods, makes it all worth it.
Next week, a school offering self-directed education and no required curriculum. Plus, an eye-opening book about one of America's biggest human trafficking operations. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.